All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Hello to all our YouTube viewers and participants. Welcome to StackLeague University Series, Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila Edition. I am King and I will be your host for today. I would like to remind everyone that if you have any questions regarding StackLeague or anything about the session, you can type them in our comment section and we will address them later at the Q&A session. Before we dive into today's session, we would like to give you an overview of Stack League, especially if it's your first time to join a Stack League event. And to help me with it, please help me welcome Casey Kalunod, our growth associate. Good afternoon, Casey.
Thank you, King, and welcome everyone here at the StackLeague University Series. Again, I am Casey. I will be sharing with you a quick overview of what StackLeague is all about. So, let me show here the next slide. StackLeague is the Philippines' largest online programming league. And our mission here is to develop programming leaders that inspire the nation into coding. And this tournament is powered by StackTrek's fully automated talent analytics and assessment platform. We are already in our second competitive year, and Stack League wouldn't be possible without the support of our partners. We are very fortunate to be supported by these top companies in the industry. We have our silver sponsor, Coding Chiefs, and bronze sponsors, Microsoft, Dell Tech Systems, Apper.ph, Recruit Day, and Gcash. The same goes for we also have our media partners. We have SparkUp, Apps Gadget, Was Up Pilipinas, Corner Magazine PH, Androidist, Megabytes, Back End News, Bluewing, and Manila Republic. We also have, of course, our community partners who help the league reach as many programmers in the country as possible. And here are our community partners. Okay, so this pioneering programmer league was launched last year, March 16, and we are now gathering over 10,000 tech talents across the country to test their leadership, perseverance, and coding skills with the promise of nationwide media recognition, lots of prizes, thousands of tech job opportunities, and access to invitation only events such as this one. Now, uh, the league's year-round cash prize pool is now at 10 million pesos, and this is in for the duration of the whole competition. This is the cash prize pot where we will get the year-round cash prizes from. Now, one of the highlights in Stack League is the weekly stack race for both the individual and team categories. Now, each week, the top 10 challengers and the top 3 teams are announced all across Stack League's social media platforms to recognize the challengers who stayed on top of the rankings. And apart from this, we also have the Stack League featured programmer and team campaign, wherein the weekly top 10 challengers and top 3 teams are going to be featured on Stack League's website. And of course, this will be shared on all our social media channels. We have already features up for if you guys want to read about the tips and tricks from our challengers. And Stack League will also be hosting numerous tech and career sessions all throughout the year. Aside from this, there are also exclusive training available for ranking up to the next challenger level. So if you're having a hard time unlocking the challenger levels, we do have trainings for this one. And these events and training are all for free. So we hope you guys would grab this opportunity. The Stack League Ambassador Program is a year round initiative to reward Stack League challengers who go beyond the competition and inspire the nation into coding. So, to tell you more about the Stack League Ambassador Program, here is a short clip for you. And there you have it. That is the Stack League Ambassador Program. Congratulations to Darwin Pablo for being the Stack League Ambassador for March, winning the 3,000 pesos cash prize and, of course, the Stack League t shirt. If you want to be the next Stack League Ambassador and win the cash prize and t shirt, the program is still open for April. So today is 29th. Tomorrow will be the last day for accepting entries. You can find the full mechanics at our website or go to bit.ly/StackLeagueAmbassador 2022. Now, for the programming languages, these are the five supported programming languages in the league. We have JavaScript, Java, Python, C Sharp, and PHP. And for the ranking system, this is how it works. After you sign up, of course, you start at the bottom with 0 points, and all you need to do is solve as many challenges as you can and earn the corresponding points. So, the more points you earn, the higher your ranking goes. And once you have accumulated enough points, you can now get access to the next level challenges where more opportunities are unlocked for you to access. So, there are opportunities only available for, let's say, silver level challengers and gold level challengers and other levels. So make sure that you unlock, once you have signed up, you unlock these level challenges. So how many challenger levels do we have? We have three: bronze, silver, and gold. Now the new thing for this year's challenger level up is the prizes. So once you unlock bronze level, you will receive 100 pesos. Once you unlock silver level, you will receive another 100 pesos. And once you unlock level, you will receive 300 pesos. So all in all, the total amount you will receive once you unlock all levels would be 500 pesos. Now, there is also the Stack League Treasure Chest individual category. And here, the weekly top 10 challengers will receive 500 pesos cash prize. So, this is apart from the challenger level prizes. Okay, so this is different. Each week, we announce the weekly top 10 challengers and they will receive the prizes. Also, we have the Stack League Playoffs. Now, the Stack League Playoffs is a single elimination tournament featuring all monthly qualifiers where all weekly top 10 Stack League challengers will automatically be invited to the monthly qualifier rounds. You can read the mechanics at bit.ly/Stack League Playoffs 2022. Here is another clip if you want to know more. And that's for the Stack League playoffs. Now, our second monthly qualifier round will be tomorrow. If you want to support or if you have challengers who you want to support at the second monthly qualifier rounds, you can watch the YouTube live video for the competition. And that's it for the overview of Stack League. Now, remember that as a year-round tournament, Stack League is looking for the best challengers that can stay up in the ranks and become programming leaders for the long haul. That's all for me, King. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you very much, Casey, for giving us a very brief introduction and very detailed introduction of StackLeague. So I hope that these students would be able to leverage all of the opportunities given by StackLeague. All right, so let's not delay this any further. I know that you guys are very much excited for our today's session. To introduce to you our speaker, he is a natural problem solver with 4 years of software development experience and a proven history of end to end results. He has a passion to provide digital solutions with excellence and innovation in mind. And he is also a strong willed individual, eager to learn and stay dynamic to contribute to the strength and growth of his organization. And another thing, he is also one of the top challengers in Stack League. So let's give it up for Jonel Getigan. Good afternoon, Jonel.
Good afternoon, King, and thank you for that introduction. Well, firstly, thank you, Pamatasan ng Lungsod ng Manila, for inviting me today, especially to Stack League. Um, and I'm very excited to share with you how AI transforms the IT world. So, as mentioned, I am Jonel Getigan, and also I came from a state university in Davao City, so I'm very much kind of heartfelt thanks to you guys for inviting me on this one. So AI are usually perceived as this one. So AI is as kind of a robot that's super intelligent that it can beat human at any fields they're good at. For example, for chess masters, they can beat chess masters, or if they cannot beat them there and there, then and there, then they can beat them at significant smaller amount of time. So most of the other industries, they see AI as a bad thing because they will lose their job, or AI might be kind of a bad. They will learn to be bad in the future. But for us in the IT industry, I think we are. It's the sentiment is really that it's really promising, and then it's really good for us since it's about making machines intelligent. They learn from data, and then they just learn from past experiences. Now, I think the more the headline about AI is on the two main events. That's on the development of Deep Blue by IBM, and also with its Watson competing against Jeopardy. What happened was in 1997, a world chess champion, Garry Kasparov, was beaten by a supercomputer named Deep Blue. So again, these are Gary is a chess master. So to be able for Deep Blue to be able to challenge and beat Garry Kasparov is actually a trivial matter. And so on, going towards 2011, Jeopardy, which is a game, and then there are two champions there. You can see on the left side, you have Jen Kennings, and on the right side, you have Brandt. And then in the middle, you have Watson, that's just a computer. But for Watson to be able to compete and actually defeat these two are, again, are trivial matters. So this is very important in terms of how AI is trying to be smart enough to, to not just compete against humans, but to be the best version of in any applications. So, but further, what is actually AI? So, we're parang from time to time we talk about AI in different fields now, but dito sa IT field, parang very familiar tayo. Basically, AI is to manifest intelligence in machine by mimicking the natural intelligence of humans and animals. So basically, we'll try to make machines intelligent by making them reason. So they make decision making, and then they to discover meaning. So to find like patterns and in different data, to generalize, for example, to classify, and then also to learn from past experience. So these things are humans can do this one, but machines could not on their own. So we're trying to mimic this one. We're trying to make this kind of experiences embedded into machines. Now, for example, in the past, you can just imagine that when you have a car, it's just a car. It will do whatever the user is making it to do. So when you want it to steer to the left, then you steer your arms to the left. And then if you want to move it forward, you need uh, to steer forward and so on. So the car is just a manual kind of a machine that does nothing except to understand what the input from the human and then just do that. So it doesn't reason. It does, as mentioned, it doesn't reason. Doesn't do anything. But in terms of the current cars, then we have electric vehicles where it does autonomous self-driving, so it can already drive on its own. Then it is becoming intelligent in a way that even if there's no human intervention, it can drive on its own from point to point, and then it can understand its surroundings. And for example, if nakikita niya na may tao sa harap, then it can stop on its own. without human intervention. So the intelligence there is that without any input from us, it can learn and it can make its own decision. And then, for example, these are on the physical side. And then on the software side, makikita din natin, for example, si calculator. So calculator is not really intelligent. While it is a software, it does something, it's not intelligent because it does, you want to make an input before it makes an output, the same as you have in the manual side. So when you want to say 1 plus 1, you have to input 1 plus 1. And it does nothing else from that standpoint. But when you do a voice recognition or voice assistance, wherein you make some input regarding calculation, then that particular software is trying to parse or to understand what you are saying and then uses that to calculate. Say, for example, Cortana. When you say Cortana, 1 plus 1, now it understands your voice and then it parses your voice, understand what you're trying to say, and then basically do the computation. So the input is your voice, but the voice is very vague. We have different kind of depth of voice. Male is different from the female. Different cultures. Filipino does speak differently from the Americans and from the, let's say, the English people. So those are the kind of things, the nuances that voice recognition will have to deal with in determining what we actually want it to do. And for it to be able to understand those nuances is intelligence in itself, because it is trying to understand something that is kind of very vague in nature. Again, the voice is very vague in terms of there are nuances, in terms of the depth, in terms of the culture, etc. So all these kinds of things are just introductions of how we are transitioning from a physical or manual perspective into making something more intelligent. Now, in terms of AI, there are actually a lot of domains. So AI is just an umbrella of different subdomains. So we have different cognitive domains. We have the machine learning. So on the IT industry, masyado tayong familiar sa machine learning, no? Kaya you have AI, ML talaga from time to time. And then in machine learning, the point of machine learning is for it to be able to understand different sets of data and then learning from that. So we have supervised learning, so my intervention from us, from the human beings, and then we have unsupervised, wherein we're just letting the machine or the program learn on its own, recognizing the patterns, etc., without much intervention or without any intervention at all from us. And then you have reinforced learning, wherein you we reward these learning mechanisms with respect to certain sets of parameters. And then you have natural language processing. So as mentioned earlier, the voice recognition will be under this segment in the speech. And then also on the text. So you have the auto-completion. For example, when you type something on your keyboard, it may determine something. So that's actually an application of AI wherein it is trying to understand the next words that you are trying to type. And then knowledge representation is more on the expert system. You have automated planning wherein it's trying to understand the routine that you have in your schedules, may it be your schedules or the schedules of a business or something, and it's trying to make that optimization of those processes. Of course, the intelligent robots, very familiar with us, no? Yung mga robots, for example, sa Japan, alam natin na nagsuserve ng food or any kinds of robots really andun sa Japan. So those are the physical robots as we know it. And then we also have software assistants or yung mga chatbots. So the chatbots, yung mga gaming bots, any kind of bots that are helping us, especially businesses. And then also the more kind of interesting is the human perception. It is on the human touch. We are trying to make machines also understand how we feel in terms of the touch, how we hear in terms of the audition, and then in the vision in terms of our eyesights. So all of these things we are incorporating so that machines will be able to be more intelligent in their in whatever they do. Now, As mentioned, AI or ML are being in kind of we interchangeably speak of them, but AI is the umbrella of them all. So AI is actually, as I mentioned, we are making machines learn like humans, mimicking the human behavior, and one subfield of that artificial intelligence is machine learning, wherein with sufficient use of data and statistics, these machines will be able to learn on their own. And then a subset of that would be deep learning, wherein we will deal with artificial neural network, which I will be presenting later on. Now, going back to our topic, how AI transforms the IT world is very interesting because it's not just the IT industry that it is transforming. By the IT world, we mean that it is transforming different industries with regards to industries that are incorporating IT resources and infrastructure in their daily day-to-day basis. So may it be from finance, from healthcare, or from other industries where there is IT infrastructure, IT, AI, or ML can make transformation happen to make their businesses more competitive and more productive. So on these cases, we'll try to kind of to see the use cases of AI. So ano ba yung application ng AI in terms of the automobile industry, in terms of the bioscience, in terms of the communication, in terms of the finance, gaming, manufacturing, and in the Internet of Things. So these are just a small subset really of how AI is making a difference. So when you search for AI transforming blank, you see a lot of things. You have AI transforming like shipping industries and so on. So we'll just tackle this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 industries. Now, going back to our the first presentation on the self-driving cars. Now, self-driving cars will not be able to drive in itself without vision. So human beings we will try to utilize we have the natural eyesight to kind of navigate the natural world. So for example, if ito yung image na nakikita mo, then as a human being, you can easily perceive everything. So this is a car, this is a car, this is a building, the road, those are the trees and vegetation, etc. So that's very easy for us. But for in terms of the machines, it's not that simple for them to understand what these are because they see everything as pixel. So this is a pixel, this is a pixel, and they need to kind of correlate this kind of image and see that all these pixels are actually depicting a car, and that is not just to say that that is a car, but to say that it is a moving car, because in terms of the self-driving, we need to know what is stationary and what is moving. And we do that by this kind of methodology. We do that by semantic segmentation. Semantic segmentation is to assign a label to every pixel in the image and assigning them classes. So for example, this is the image that we have. So we assign them in this below. So you assign this part as this are vegetation, this one is moving car. So this is the only thing that the self-driving car can understand. It will not understand this one. So it needs to label this image into this one. And the process of making that happen is through neural network. So neural network is kind of to mimic our brain and our nervous system. So alam na naman natin no, na our brains are consisting of a lot of neurons, and then our nervous system also consists of a lot of neurons. So when there is a different stimuli, the neuron will perceive that and when input that into electrical signals. So for example, let's say touch. So if someone will touch you, the neuron will actually receive those touch and then transform that into electrical signal and tell your brain that, uy, may humawak sa'yo. And then that also, we try to mimic that by using this kind of diagram. You have this a simple neuron wherein you have a set of input, and then you have some sort of calculation here, and then you have some sort of output. And then, of course, hindi lang naman siya isang neuron, no? A lot of neurons are in our body, and then we also mimic that behavior. So we have a lot of neurons connecting with each other, and then we have a set of inputs and then a set of outputs. So in general, what we are trying to say is that we are making machines learn from the input and then make some calculation based on that input, and then basically at the end of the on this part, it will make something, it will infer something based on the output. So for example, what we're trying to say is, for example, on the vision side, how do we determine if a picture is a cat or a dog? So that seems easy for us, but for computer that is not, that's hard for them. So what we will do is that we will, on this neural network, we will feed it with as many pictures of cat and as many pictures of dog, and then we will label them accordingly. So for example, first process, may nilagay tayong isang cat. Pinrocess niya, tapos ito naglo-learn pa naman yan, so hindi na pa alam if cat yan or ano. Then pag output niya is actually a dog, so sabi niya actually it's a dog. Pero since sinabi natin na it's a cat, we have label na cat ito. So alam natin na naalalaman niya na, we're expecting it a cat, and then ang output ko is a dog. So this neural network will learn from that mistake and then make some recalculation of its own, so that sa next time around, pag i-input mo na naman ang isang image ng cat, it will make it a cat in the output. So the idea is that we input sufficiently large amount of information for this neural network to learn. So hindi lang pwede, or it's necessary for us to give it a huge amount of data for it to understand. So like for example, if gusto mo talaga to make your model kind of very efficient, lagay ka ng 1 million pictures of cat and then 1 million pictures of dog. And then it will learn from that experience, and then it will calculate. And then at the end of the day, mag-generate yan siya ng model. So after those recalculation and learning, meron ka ng model. So what it does is that whenever you input now a picture of dog, it now makes calculation, and then it now says that, alam ko na dog yan because meron akong experience na this kind of features, may ganitong ears, may ganitong mouth, it's probably a dog. But the output of that is not actually a dog, but it's a probability of how probable it is being a dog or a cat. So for example, in this particular scenario, sabi ni model natin na, it's about 75% dog and it's about 25% cat. That's why it's saying that it's a dog, but actually it's saying that it's 75% dog. So it's very insightful to know that this kind of learning process na ginagawa ng ating brain ay ginagawa din ng isang program. And in terms of the automobile industry, this is how they learn that, going back in our slide, this is how it learned that this is actually a car, that this is a house, because of this learning process. Then moving on to another segment, we have the bioscience. So we are in a pandemic, no? So kaya naka work from home, naka online classes. And then in terms of drug discovery, actually it's a lengthy process. For example, in this case, you have a development process for drug development to take at least 12 years, and that will cost around $2.5 billion. So that's why may mga skeptics na sinasabi nila na parang 1.5 years lang na nangyari ang COVID, tapos may vaccine agad. Parang ano ba yung process, parang minadali ata ng mga manufacturer. But they have a good sense of that question, but ideally we are injecting AI to make these things faster. So for example, in the discovery phase, we are trying to target two things. You have the target and then you have the lead. So this target is ano ba yung disease na kailangan nating patayin or at least ano natin siya, maging inactive siya. So for example, in COVID-19, this would be the SARS-CoV-2. And then this green one is ano, ito yung mga vaccine na ginagawa ng, for example, ng Pfizer, ng Moderna. So these are candidate vaccines. Now, what they do is that the professionals will actually try to kind of uh, make vaccines out of their parang intuition and then their data analysis and stuff. So these are more on the relying on their expertise to find these vaccines. And then essentially, as I've said here, they would try to at least find 5,000 to 10,000 compounds. And then from that 5,000 to around 10,000 compounds, hindi naman lahat yan gagana eh. So they will try to make simulation to see if gagana yung isang candidate vaccine. If hindi, move na naman sila sa isa. And then making this compound is not easy. So they need to understand the chemistry and etc. So what AI is trying to do here is that we make this deep generative models. So for example, if you can see on the left side, we have like three people lang dito, no? So you have the male one, and then this one, the middle one, the female, and then this one is the end part. But on this deep generative models, we see that it seems to be seamless. There might be a kind of 10 people here or 20 people here from the three person because we are trying to make synthesis of those three and then just kind of bridge the gap and then just generate this model. So what does it mean in the drug, balikan natin yung drug development, ano yung application niya doon. So for example, if meron kang drug candidate list with this one, and then you have another candidate, this one, and then you have candidate, this one. So these are kind of, ito yung na-determine ng mga professionals na, ito yung candidate natin, and then these three. Pero yung candidates na yun are, hindi sila naging successful. So what they can do is just to utilize this generative model so that makakita nila yung mga middle part. So for example, we will label this as 0 and 1. We will make models or vaccines from 0.3, 0.7, 0.9, etc. So you see, from 2 na meron tayo, nagkaroon tayo ng 3 or you can have 5 or 6 in the middle and so on. So AI is making that possible. And then that's making it why, that is the reason why yung mga drug development natin nagiging mas mabilis compared sa dati natin because of AI's help. And then another one is on the communication side. So syempre as mga students, no, we often write a lot of things. And then if you're familiar with grammar checkers, andun sila to help us. So for example, in this case, you have a grammatical error here. So you have, I am looking for my next career opportunity. So career is ano siya. In terms of the pandemic, ano siya, masyadong trivial siya, yung career. So career ng maybe the COVID and stuff, but it's not the career, it's supposed to be the career. So grammar checking in terms of AI, we can check that by using natural language processing. So using natural language, we parse these grammatical rules to identify mistakes and language error. So tayong human being, ang dali nating maka-perceive ng grammatical errors, no? Kaya masyadong mahirap sa Pilipinas ang mag-Ingles kasi if you say some grammatical errors, kinokorek agad. But in terms of the machine, they also do that, but quite differently. So what they do is that you have this, ano yung text na i-check natin for grammatical errors. So for this one, we have, for example, the text we are checking is the woman loves the man. So again, the text we are checking is the woman loves the man. So we're trying to see if this is grammatically correct. So the first thing we do is that we tokenize them. So tokenize is we kind of get every word. So we have the woman loves the man. So that is every one of them would be treated as token. And then the next phase is to understand simple error. So for example, if may dalawang space, so chine-check niya yan, dapat isa lang space. Or if ever, for example, may period dito, so but period yan, parang hindi yan the woman, parang it doesn't make sense. So if a flag niya yan. So those are simple syntax na mga um, checking. So, and then the next one is to analyze. So now we label this token by what morphological meaning, by morphological meaning. So the is determiner, woman is a noun, loves is a verb, and so on and so forth. So we analyze them and we label them with like what are they? Woman is a noun, etc. So we do that in this phase. And then on the parser one, we make this tree, the entire tree. So you have this phrase, we have this sentence, and then you have this noun phrase, you have this verb phrase, and etc. So in the parser side, ginagawa nating tree ang isang sentence, no? So from one sentence, naging parang decision tree na siya. And then the next important part is the parse walker. So sa parse walker, chine-check na talaga natin if actually, is it grammatically correct according to grammatical rules? So far, tama naman siya. But for example, let's say, ang woman dito is naging women, and then loves ito, then that is grammatically incorrect because you have a noun-verb agreement that if this is plural, then this must be singular. Or if this is women, then this would be love, and so on. So the parse walker will now determine if it is actually grammatically correct. And so all of those things prepare and then generate. And then yung generation na yan is nakikita natin yung mga may red na parang dito sa baba niya. So sinasabi niya, oy, red, tapos kasi mali yung subject verb agreement mo. So this is just a high overview of what it does in terms of the natural language processing, but it's really kind of much complicated than that. The next one is on the finance, on the credit risk management. So alam natin na different banks meron silang loans. So for example, you have house loan, you have personal loans, and then you have car loans. So hindi naman pwede na because you just have maganda yung sahod mo, bibigyan ka na agad ng loan. The banking industry, as mentioned earlier, have a model of sino yung candidate for them to approve a particular loan. So for example, let's say ako tong dog na to. So I have my job, I have my age, I have my professional history, I have my like other banking information, and then i-input niya ng bank, and then they will kind of see it in their model and determine if pwede ba ako or hindi. But the problem here is that banking industries are actually regulated. By regulated, it means chine-check sila from time to time ng government. So for example, let's say a particular bank is being regulated by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. So hindi sila pwedeng gumawa lang ng kahit anong method or stuff, or for example in this one ng credit risk management analysis without the approval of the Bangko Sentral. And then Bangko Sentral will actually kind of chine-check nila ito. So paano ba ginagawa ng bank na kahit na ganito yung job history ko, ganito yung salary ko, paano nila dinedetermine na pwede ako for that credit or not. But in terms of the neural network, you see that this is a lot of things are happening here. So that's why we have there is a lack of transparency, or known as the black box. So hindi natin alam for sure ano yung ginagawa ng machine or ng program na ito. While we know that it is reliable because we tested it, we validated it, Pero hindi pwede kasi sa regulator na tama na ang tama. They need to understand paano siya naging tama. And then, in so doing, these financial industries resorted to tree-based learning algorithms. So tree-based learning algorithm would be like this one. So wala na ba akong shampoo? Am I out of shampoo? No. So meron pa naman akong shampoo, then I will not go to the market. If wala na akong shampoo pero umuulan ba, then if umuulan, then wag kang pumunta sa labas or sa market. If hindi naman umuulan, then go to the market. Though this is just a simple tree-based learning algorithm that financial industries are utilizing in terms of learning their credit assessment. So what it does afterwards is that it makes a hierarchical decision of how they perceive or analyze basic input. So for example, as mentioned, um, if mag-a-apply ako ng loan, ano yung chine-check ng bank based on this tree-based learning algorithm? So according to this light GBM na, na program, chine-check nila firstly kung ano yung credit amount. So if malaki ba siya or maliit, and then depending on that, there is a big impact if i-approve nila or not. And then the next one is the age. So if you are just too young, parang bago ka pa lang nagtatrabaho, so that might be a determiner of whether they will approve you or not. And then the duration, so ilang months mo ba babayaran yung loan na yon? Would it be 3 months, 1 year? So that would make an impact, and so on and so forth. So in this way, we are not we are being transparent. No, the banks are being transparent kung ano yung um, chine-check nila para maging para if you are applicable or not in that kind of credit offering. So again, we are transitioning this one from the manual na chine-check ng mga employee if capable ka ba or not, and then just using algorithm to actually see if you are capable of paying, and you have the persona of being able to pay them. And then so this is just a preliminary, no, hindi naman siya parang after this one pwede na or hindi, but after this one, if you are being approved, then meron ka ng next process na they will further check it and stuff. But what they do in that space is that they are making it parang automated na. So hindi na siya yung manual na i-check ng mga people from the bank. So that is one AI optimization that na available. And then the next one is in the manufacturing sector. So if familiar kayo dito sa mga robots na to, yung mga kamay-kamay, so ginagamit siya from different industry, especially the parang mga cars, or yung mga parang sa mga tawag nito factories. So ang nakakaano lang sa kanila is they are repetitive, no? So they are expecting something because of that repetition. So for example, this kind of robot or this arm, it is just expecting this moon shape na object. So when you put it something na hindi siya moon shape, hindi niya na alam anong gagawin niya, because it's out of the scope of ano yung um, routine na ginagawa niya, as well as the other stuff. So we are trying to make it smart by making it understand nuances or differences. So for example, even if you give it some heart shape na mga object or a cross shape na object, it can still understand, and then it can still pick it up, it can still put it somewhere inside this box, and then make the task complete. So what they do in that space is that they use machine learning, and then in the use of RGBD camera. So RGBD is the red, green, blue, and then D is the depth. Um, so what it does is that, for example, ito yung image natin, no? So for example, you have the kitchen, and then the people here. So in the ground truth, ito yung by ground truth is ano yung actual na na layo ng isang bagay. So ito yung actual na layo niya. But in terms of the camera that we have, ito yung na-perceive niya na layo ng mga bagay. So it's not really that malayo, no? And if you can see here, ang medyo difference, nag-differ lang sila is I think here, because it's saying that this one is farther, but hindi naman siya ganun kalayo. And then what essentially it does is that nalalaman niya ang depth, nalalaman niya ang shape ng isang object, and then it can learn from that inference na paano ba niya kunin ang isang bagay. So getting back on this one, alam natin na moon shape lang ang alam niya, but if lagyan natin siya ng heart shape, then malalaman niya kung ano ang shape ng heart shape, and then it can adjust its arm to grab that heart shape, even if um, hindi naman siya sanay na kunin yung ganong shape. So by incorporating cameras with this kind of vision and understanding of the depth and colors and shape, it can understand and it can actually make decisions kahit na wala tayong ginagawa. So ilagay mo lang yung robot doon, gawa ka lang ng mga scenarios maglalagay ka lang ng kahit anong shape dyan, pero actually nakukuha niya, na nagagrasp niya yung different kind of shapes. And then interestingly is on the gaming industry, if you're familiar with Dota 2, so para siyang ML na 5v5, so humans versus humans. But in this case, it is actually humans versus bots or the gaming bots. Ano ang parang maganda dito is that well, we can perceive human being playing with one another kasi we can communicate, no? So for example, oy, left or right, or oy, first skill, second skill, ganun. So and then, or for example, sasabihin niya, oy, magsaset tayo, patayin natin itong kalaban na to. So human being can communicate with each other through voice and through chat, etc. But in terms of the bots, they must be good in themselves, but in order for them to communicate with each other without that same level of communication na meron tayo sa human level is a really big advance in terms of the AI development. So you see, for example, this is player 1, this is player 2, and player until 5, no? Hindi naman alam ni player 1 ano yung gustong gawin ni player 2, no? And then hindi din alam ni player 1 ano yung gustong gawin ni player 4. But in terms of they are playing together, they will parang ano sila, nag-check sila from each other kung ano yung gustong gawin ng isang bot, ano yung gustong isang gawin ng bot relative to their environment or to their enemy. So for instance, nakita ng isang bot na yung 5 na kalaban is papunta sa kanya, and then merong ibang bots na kasama, then they will perceive na may mangyayaring labanan, so that in that case they will parang magko-convince sila, they will make some actions para matalo itong kalaban na human beings. And then what is interesting is that actually natalo nila yung mga pro gamers ng Dota. So as sinabi ni Bill Gates, it is actually a milestone, because sabi niya, that's a big deal because their victory required teamwork and collaboration. So for an AI to be good in itself is actually great, but for it to have a teamwork and collaborate with another AI is actually very novel, and it's way beyond our understanding. And what they did was they do that by making AI play against itself by around 10,000 years worth of hours. So imagine, because of that 10 years of parang learning experiences ng AI, nagawa nilang talunin ang mga pro players. So that's actually a great thing. And then I think on the last one, I'd like to take this Internet of Things. So if familiar kayo sa Amazon Go, actually ano siya, if nag-shopping kayo, for example, no, tapos bibili lang kayo ng isang bottled water, isa lang, because nauuhaw kayo. But sa line, ang daming nakapila, so parang isa lang yung gusto mong bilhin, but pipila ka ng parang 30 minutes because of that. So you're losing a lot of time because of that. But in terms of this Amazon Go offering, it is actually a smart shopping wherein merong parang convenience store na pupunta ka lang doon, kukuha ka lang ng any amount, walang cashier, walang anything, kukuha ka lang, lalabas ka lang, and then um, yung parang kinuha mo, mababawas lang sa online payment, online ng mga credits mo. For example, in our case, baka GCash yan, or baka Paymaya, or baka sa bank yan. So essentially, ano siya, hindi ka napipila. You'll just go out and then ipaprocess na siya ng store. And then, paano nangyari yon? There are actually different kind of tenants, or may mga different devices that makes that scenario possible. The first one is the camera. Of course, they need to monitor you as you go into the store. So, for example, pupunta ako sa store. Ano yung gusto kong kunin, dapat matrack nila yan. And then, the next one is the fixture, yung mga physical na fixture na nandun sa store. So, for example, ito, if makikita nyo, let's say isa tong biscuit. So, if natanggalan niya ng isang biscuit, nalalaman ng system because parang may sensor sila doon na, uy, nawala ng biscuit dito. And then the person who was there was Jonel. So, it must be Jonel na kumuha ng biscuit na yon. And then that would be worth like siguro 10 pesos. So magtatag na yung camera na Jonel is having a 10 pesos na biscuit. And then paglubas mo ng gate, i-deduct na agad yan ng system na mababawasan ka na ng 10 pesos, and ayun na. That's just the process. So pupunta ka lang, kukuha na ka ng kahit anong kailangan mo, and then labas ka lang. So the Internet of Things are making that possible in a manner as that the camera are using AI to determine human beings. So makikita nila ano yung tao, paano maglakad, kung may kinuha ba or wala. And then sa fixture, sa sensors, and then sa gate pag lumabas ka. So they are communicating with each other to determine kung ano yung kukunin nila sa'yo, and then just to make it seamless. And then the entire process is here. You have the locator, the linker, etc. But for the most part, it's just that it's very convenient. It's very parang impossible many years ago. But in terms of the advancement, in terms of the machines, and then AI, machine learning, meron na tayong ganyan. So just to make you just a sample, this one. So we're trying to tag this one, itong person na to. So ano yung ginagawa niya sa store? So
put them on the cart and then push the cart back towards the back of the house.
You see, ang daming tao na nandito, but the camera can still detect sino ang sino dyan. They can tag you as, for example, you are number 169, your customer 169. Nakikita din nila kung ano yung kinukuha mo, saan ka pumupunta. So they're just doing that. It's just divine. And then pag lumabas ka na ng store, natatanggalan na ng some amount yung pera mo, and then it's just seamless. And then those are the kind of the general cases, and then we have the other use cases na ginagamit natin, which you might be familiar. So for example, the e-commerce industry are using it to make recommendations. So for example, if bibili ka ng cellphone, then because of the recommendation system, nalalaman nila na usually yung mga person na bumibili ng cellphone, bumibili din sila ng parang accessories like earphone, like ng case ng phone, and etc. In terms of as we mentioned, the natural language processing, nalalaman ng Twitter, which is very parang ano siya ngayon, no, kasi bibilhin siya ng Elon Musk. So nalalaman ng Twitter kung ano yung if fan ka ng isang, for example, ano ba, BTS, nalalaman ng Twitter na fan ka ng BTS if parati kang nagla-like ng mga ng BTS na mga na tweets, or palagi ka nag-i-engage ng mga BTS na mga tweets. So, because of that, nagbibigay si Twitter sa'yo ng mga tweets na about BTS na hindi mo naman ina-expect. But since nalalaman niya na because of your activities, they're giving you some that kind of experience because they learn it na ganun yung gusto mong ginagawa when you use their platform. And then, of course, Google is making a better search because of AI and machine learning. They do indexing, they do a lot of stuff in that one. And then on the banking side, they use it in their back end process. So if makikita nyo ngayon nung nag-pandemic, usually pag nag-apply tayo ng para sa bank, pupunta tayo sa bank, mag-apply tayo, magpe-present tayo ng mga documents and stuff. But ngayon, ano na lang siya, sa cellphone ka lang, picturean mo lang yung cellphone mo, and then pasa mo lang yung document mo by capturing the picture, and then ipaprocess na nila yan. They will have image processing, they will do the machine learning neural networks para i-learn kung ito ba ay isang legit na document, and if this is legit, applicable ka ba? Because ano ba, siguro sa age mo, if you are a legal age, wala ka bang kaso, for example, makikita nila doon na you are Jonel Getigan. Si Jonel Getigan ba ay isang totoong tao? So they can do that seamlessly also. So a lot of AI ML cases are out there, and these are just some of the few. But with all the offerings of AI, ang dami niyang parang sinosolve the problem ng world, or ang dami niyang it's making a difference in our current society. But AI is not actually a silver bullet to all the solutions, to all the problems that we have, no? It depends on in the context. Kaya sinasabi natin na there are from time to time human interventions. We test a lot of this AI system because usually, or if not, sometimes may mga scenarios na hindi ginagawa ng AI ML or ng AI natin yung supposed to be it's doing because of something. May it be parang may nuance, may error sa program, or may error sa hardware, we don't know. But it's not magic, no? It's not magic, it's statistics. AI is using a lot of statistical analysis, computation, and then a lot of computations really. So hindi naman siya yung because it's intelligent, it can do everything, no? There are still instances where it's not doing its job. Kaya nga, for instance, sa alcohol, sinasabi natin na it's 99.9% na patay ang germs. So sinasabi natin, so sana yung ba't hindi mapatay-patay yung 0.1%, no? So bata ka pa until now, siguro until magkakaapo ka na lang, it's still 99.9. And it will be still the case with AI, no? It will not be perfect, but for the most part, for the most cases, with the right research, with the right input assumptions, AI can definitely be helpful in different industries, as we've mentioned earlier. So credits also to the slide and yung mga ginagamit ko. And ayun, I hope you learned something in terms of how AI is actually making transformation in our world. And then if you are interested, you can scan this QR code to see the slides, because ang daming links na in-embed ko sa different slides that if you are into AI, they will be helpful for you. And I think that I will end my presentation on that, and I'll be happy to take some questions.
All right. So thank you very much, Janelle, for that very informative, interesting, and insightful presentation. And this topic will surely be valuable to our viewers, especially most of them are students taking up IT-related courses. All right. So I think this is the most exciting part of our session for today. We are now opening the floor for questions from our participants. All right. So everyone, if you have any questions with regards to even Stack League or even our session for today, since it's for me it's very interesting. No, there's a lot of things na I've learned today regarding IT and the students. If you have questions, please feel free to ask Junel and put it in the comment section because we right now we will be addressing it to our Q&A session. Okay, so I think okay. We have first question is from Hosh. What topics do we need to research first to start coding AI?
I think in most cases, no, kung anong field, any field for that matter, you need to understand the the basic of the concept. Ano yung ano siya? For example, in AI, you need to understand the statistics really. So a lot of statistics will be there. So you need to research for statistics because modeling, there will be a lot of modeling, regression analysis, and stuff.
Mhm.
So understand that in terms of, and then after that, you go further. And then kasi if pupunta ka na sa actual na AI na part, hindi na siya parang you are coding from scratch, no? Andun na yung mga statistical na mga techniques na ginagamit mo na lang siya. But it's really difficult for you to use something and then you don't understand the science behind that. So you need to understand statistics. For me, I think you need to research on statistics, and then of course you need to research why we are using AI. And because we are using AI because we wanted to automate a lot of things. So kaya naman natin na gawin itong mga ito, pero kailangan natin matulog, kailangan natin kailangan natin matulog, kailangan natin mag-rest. But the world is not resting, so that's why we are tapping AI to do 24/7 jobs for us. So I think for me, you need to study statistics.
All right, so thank you for that one. So you have to remember that you have to understand first the statistics or the information on what you're going to put to your model before actually going into the field and try to create an AI for yourself. So you have to understand what you want to do with your model before indulging into the field itself. So okay, we have
Yes,
another
yes.
question from CM. What is commonly used programming language for AI?
Well, I'd like to believe it will be Python, no? Because Python is ang dami niyang ang dami niyang third-party libraries. You have TensorFlow, you have Keras, and then as a programming language itself, it's easier to learn than the other languages. So yung learning curve mo in terms of learning is much hindi siya mas steeper than the other languages. And that means that even if hindi ka programmer, let's say isa kang um, engineer or isa kang pharmacist or any other things or any other professions, ang dali mong i-incorporate ang AI systems mo and then you can just code it because ang dami ng available na libraries. So AI, I think, would be the candidate for the most commonly used programming language for AI.
Okay, so Python. So for all of those people who wanted to start learning about AI, so you might want to consider learning the language of Python because that would be the most not basic but very friendly when it comes to first timer or beginners. Okay, so we have another question from Drelim Saviori Valonso. I hope I pronounced your name right. Oh, okay. So what would be the implication of AI in terms of security?
Well, in terms of security, the threats, no, we see a lot of patterns naman din, no, kung ano yung the patterns na ginagawa ng mga threat agents towards our system. So, for example, the very basic, no, if you have someone who is inputting password for like 5 or 6 times already. So the pattern is that for a normal person, usually it will be just 3 or 4, and then you'll just go and forget your password. But for processes or may nakikita ka na isang user na nag-i-input siya ng 5 or 6 or 7, it may be that ito na yung pattern ng isang threat in our system. So cybersecurity or security in itself will determine based on the past na mga experiences nila. Ito is isa tong pattern na nangyari sa past, and it will flag that as a security breach or something. So it's still not flagging you as ikaw ay hindi talaga tao, but it's saying that in this occasion, it might be possible that ikaw ay isang threat sa isang system. So they will try to monitor you now than earlier, and see if there will be other patterns na ginagawa mo that will further say that ikaw talaga isang threat. So machine learning does a lot of um, doing in the back end of that. So just learn the patterns of these threats, and then incorporating it to the system and flagging those threats as they come.
Okay, so thank you again, Janelle, for that one. Okay, so we have another question from Hosh. How would AI affect non-tech jobs, or maybe ito yung mga like marketing jobs or sales clerk and all of those things? Will it decrease labor force?
Well, the quick answer is yes, definitely, because we are trying to automate things. So mare-replace na talaga yung tao with these machines. It's not in terms of the business value kasi, they are maximizing profit and then whatever they have. So even if they will want you to stay in that particular job, they want to make their business profitable, efficient, and more faster. So it will definitely increase some part of the labor force, but it will also open opportunities for different segments, such as, for example, if may problema sa isang robot na yon, then sino magre-repair nun? So another opportunities would arise in terms of that new opportunity. So maybe those person might want to invest in another skills that is in terms of the 21st century. They might want to invest in terms of learning IT, in learning, for example, basic coding skills, so that they will be competitive in the market. So marami namang job na nawala because of the transition that we have from the past and then today. So for example, yung mga yung mga let's say operators ng mga system, ng mga machines na hindi wala na ngayon, so they will eventually lose the job, but but there are offerings in the 21st century that they need to adapt. So ganun lang talaga siya. You need to adapt to the circumstances, you need to upskill yourself, and maybe ikaw na maging yung coder nung robot na yun.
Okay, so I think that would be nice na to have someone from other career field to be able to upskill and learn new things. And really, this transition would have to be a really extensive planning before really transitioning into a more parang AI labor force. So I think we have to really plan for this one. And okay, so we have another question from CM. uh, what is the intelligent uh, what is the intelligent agent in AI, and where are they used? Or what is the agent in AI, and where are they used?
Well, intelligent agent is the you can see it as a module, para siyang black box, wherein the intelligence of the machine resides. So it might be a program, it might be in terms of, for example, Tesla, they're actually incorporating two parts, in the hardware and then in the software. So the intelligent agent in any AI system will probably the software, no, the models. So for example, in yung sinabi natin na driving machines. So you have sensors, pero the sensors itself, wala naman silang alam masyado. But the model behind that sensor will understand na nakakakita ka ng car. So the model at the back end will process the information coming in from the camera, and then they will kind of decrypt those images into some signals then that the computer can actually understand. So that in terms of the agent are kung saan ba yung intelligent module na nandun sa isang system. And those are probably for machine learning, those would probably the model. For the NLP, those are probably the algorithms and so on. And then where are they used? They're used in a lot of, basically in any application depending on the use cases. So if you have a model, for example, if you have a model for self-driving, hindi naman siya pwede maging model for another, for example, swimming, because you have those two are parang different na fields. So depending on the use case and the application, those models will try to learn what is supposed to be learning, and you have to apply it there. So in terms of the industry, walang limit, no? Wala talagang limit. As mentioned, from financial to bank, from financial to agriculture to parang airlines, any industry, pwede siyang i-apply.
Okay, so thank you for that very relative information about AI. AI is really a very promising technology. Okay, so let's move forward with Mark Adrian Labrento. What are neural networks and how do they relate to AI?
Yeah, I think if I can share my screen, can I do that? King, we'll go back to the this is more this can be more this is more understandable when you see the picture.
Ah, okay. Sige.
So
Have you
balik
shared your
tayo
screen?
sa,
Okay.
yeah. So for example, in this case, balik tayo dito. So AI is the general parang umbrella ng making any machine um, intelligent. And then machine learning is doing this is a subfield that uses statistical analysis and then utilizing a lot of, it's really crunching a lot of data to learn from that experience. So for example, yung mention natin na cat and dogs, it's learning from the cats and dogs because we are making it learn from that input. And then the neural network or the deep learning, so deep learning or neural network can be parang same lang yan sila. We are making this specific methodology to make machine learning. And then we do that by, again, we do that by incorporating the the same process that we do in our brain. What that means is that nakaka-learn tayo from experience. So for example, if kumain ka ng isang, let's say, kumain ka ng halo-halo. So first time mong kumain ng halo-halo nalaman mo na it's cold, it's tawag nito, meron siyang banana, meron siyang etc. So you now know na ganun yung structure ng isang halo-halo. The next time around na pupunta ka sa isang lugar, makakita ka pala ng halo-halo, you will see that, ay, halo-halo yan, because you learn from that experience. So this kind of methodology in terms of the neural network, ito yung ginagamit ito yung specific methodology kung saan ginagamit natin yung processes na meron tayo in terms of our neural system. So meron kang set of input, you learn from that, and then you iterate from that in order for you to learn future na mga signals. So as mentioned, for example, meron 1 million na dog, 1 million na cat, nalaman mo na those are the features. Pagbibigyan ka ng isang image ng dog, then probably you will know that that is a dog. And then that is because of this kind of infrastructure or system. Mahirap siguro siya isabihin verbally, no? But you might try to understand it, research more. It's easier actually if you have the parang parang tawag nito, you have the mathematical foundation of how it actually works. But for what it's worth, it just the neural network tries to mimic our brain. Ganon siya.
Okay. So I think that I hope Jonel has answered your question. So neural networks are like working like a brain. So it depicts an information based on their experiences, like how our brain works. Okay, so we have another question from CM. So AI is very promising technology. there are a lot of advantages and benefits. Would you be able to share some cons as well, and how should we deal with them?
Well, I think as mentioned, no, hindi naman siya hindi siya silver bullet. In when you do any AI system, the con really is that when you made it without really foundational research on it, because when you do AI systems, ang daming assumptions kasi. So ano yung gusto mong assumptions ng isang AI system? Tumatanggap lang ba siya ng, for example, in terms of the data, tumatanggap lang ba siya ng text data, kung tumatanggap lang ba siya ng image data. So you need to tell your system that ito yung mga assumption, ito yung limitations niya. The con is that when you if hindi mo siya nalatag ng maaga, and then you are in the later part of the parang process mo in making the AI system, babalik ka talaga from scratch, because modeling is not parang ano siya, modeling hindi siya parang babalik ka lang agad, then parang if natapos mo na siya, then balik ka agad, hindi na siya ganun. It really entails a lot of research in terms of ano yung gusto mong gawin. And then again, the con is that if ginawa mo siya nang walang further research, parang you will be, ikaw mismo magiging blinded sa result ng isang system, because basically baka mangyari doon is baka mag-input ka ng baka mag-input ka ng isang expectation, pero ang output mo is mali siya, because yung for example yung process mo of structuring the neural network, for example, mali siya, or may differences na hindi mo siya ni-research mismo. So that one is a con. The second, I think, would be ano siya, siguro on us, pwede tayong maging super reliable on those system in such a way na hindi natin makikita agad kung ano yung mali. So for example, let's say may research ka, thorough research, and then isang system, for example, isang institution, let's say bank, nag-rely siya on the AI na part. So if ever na magka-problema yon, ano yung backfall nila? So you need to understand that AI, as again, is not perfect. So you need to make some mitigation measure na if ever na even if it's 99.9% reliant, you need to understand that that 0.1 could still be there. So you need to mitigate that. So the con is for any professional or any industries na nagre-rely masyado sa AI, they need to make mitigation risk also. So a lot of cons actually are there, but I think I can share those two for now.
All right. So the first one would have to be, you really have to do your research before planning on doing AI, because it's really gonna be parang one-time thing na hindi mo siya pwedeng balikan when you already created it. So you really have to research first, because once you've done it, and you try to create another one, you will start from scratch. And then other one would have to be relying so much on the AI that would hinder you from really understanding what is correct and what is not. So those are the two things, con, that we have to think about when we are doing AI, and how we should deal them with them. You really have to do research for that one. Okay, so
Yeah,
another.
Sir King,
Go
I
ahead.
think I'll just input no na if ever naman na you'll just parang sinabi natin na you have to research, you have a lot of assumptions. I am assuming that those are the enterprise applications, no, yung mga big companies na. But for you, you're just trying to learn, to play with it. Just go on, no, wala namang limit, no. If you try to parang gusto mo lang malaman ano yung ginagawa ng AI, pwede naman. Those assumption na kailangan mo talaga mag-research are those na mga industries na they will be investing a lot of
Mm-mm.
time and resources, money on it. But for you guys, for us na parang nagpe-play lang tayo to learn from it, and you can do all you want actually. So yeah.
All right. So, but you really have to be careful first, because you're responsible to your own parang your own technology that you're
Yeah.
creating. So you have to be responsible also while you are trying to play, or while trying to explore AI. Okay,
Yeah.
so next question would have to be from Carla Jane. So when dealing with ML algorithms, which one should we prioritize? Higher recall or higher precision?
I'm not familiar with the recall. I'm familiar with the precision, but on this part, I think Carla, I don't have the right answer for you at the moment. I'll try to get back to you on that one. But on the ML algorithms, I think I know the background na sinasabi mo dito, no, because there are plenty of ML algorithms, no, and it's really on um, using them and then just trying to build um, or to run them and then just try to test them and then test the accuracy, the validity kung sino yung um, parang parang candidate because based on the output. So for my part, for example, my thesis is about artificial neural network. What we did in our ML algorithm is that we kind of research on other techniques. We implemented heuristic approach. Heuristic approach is that you are getting um, a method from the others that are already parang ginawa na nila. So for example, we have 5 research I think. So kinuha naman yung ginawa nila, that's heuristic, that means kukunin mo yung something na ginamit na, tested na, tried na, ginamit namin yung sa amin. And then we tried to incorporate a lot of ML algorithms really. Then we just really tried to to run them and then just trim them down, trim them down, trim them down. And then sino yung best na result, yun yung naging candidate namin for our models. So in terms of the recall and precision, I'm not really sure how to answer it. Siguro balikan ka na lang, balikan kita on that one.
Okay, thank you for that one, Janelle. I hope Carla, Janelle has answered your question. But for the higher recall or higher precision, you may able to connect with Janelle for later on because he should have or he will research for that matter. Okay, so next question would have to be from Nut. So are we too early for AI? Do you think we are still not prepared for many adverse complications that may arise from it?
Well, I think when you say, as mentioned, no, 1997 we have um, IBM Blue, what was that? The Deep Blue. So na kalaban niya si Gary Kasparov winning through artificial intelligence. And then we're not 10 years, I think 10, 11, 12, more than 10 years actually. So I don't think that we are too early for AI, no. We've been there from the past and then um, we're just making some improvements, no. So in terms of AI, there are a lot. We're not early, but there are a lot of still opportunities and challenges that we are trying to solve uh, about it. And then, are we prepared for adverse effect implications? For now, it's a matter. There are actually debates on it, no. So you have the parang yung field na yung super intelligent na AI wherein hindi na siya, it will not be subjected to human input already or human intervention. So later on, it will just do on its own in something, but it's still subject to debate. So if you can see, there are still subject on debate on that, if it's really possible. I mean, theoretically, that's possible, but in terms of how we are, where we are at right now, parang malayo pa tayo doon, no? So in terms of the adverse complications, parang I think the experts are not really kind of exploring it much with much interest at the moment. It's really more on improving the AI systems and then making our world better.
Okay, so thank you for that one. I think we have last two questions. Okay, so the first last question would have to be from Frank. In some movies, they depict that AI can essentially do anything. For instance, hacking a bank with the push of a button. Do you think they depicted AI wrong, or is it actually feasible from a certain standpoint?
Well, again, in theory, there is there is this super intelligent um, kind of AI that can do anything on its own, because the machine learning is actually a concept wherein there is no limitation on how actually a machine learns. So I think on my the way I see it, it's actually it could be possible, no? But it will entail a lot of parang ano ba, processes na I think at the moment hindi pa siya possible. But at a certain standpoint, yes, I think possible siya. Again, machine learning is as long as it gets data and learns from it, then it can iterate on its own without in our intervention. Then it can virtually do that forever. So unless siguro patayin mo siya or something. So I think yes, that would be possible.
Okay, so thank you so much for that one. Okay, our last question is from Drelim Xavier Valonso. So, what is the consideration in shifting from one type of architecture, for instance, feed forward model, to another or much more complicated architecture, RNN based CNN?
Yeah, feed forward, yun yung my feed forward back, no? I think it really depends on the use case. As mentioned, you need to understand ano yung parang there are scenarios na much hindi naman applicable but much promising ang isang architecture towards one another. So for example, no, generally when you talk about neural networks and then in the vision side, you don't see it on the artificial neural network side. You see it on the convolutionary method of things because it's more ang architecture niya is more on understanding visions and stuff. But if you are really it's more if you are more into the data side, then you can go to the ANN part when you mentioned you have the CNN, you have the CNN is the convolution, more on the image stuff, and then the ANN and then the feed forward back propagation is on the data and generalization of things. No, so I think it's really it depends on the use case of where you wanted what is the actual application of your the architecture that you're using. So you need to research on that. And then much further on that actually is hindi lang siya ganun kasimple, no? Because for example, you have a candidate architecture. Now you will decide what are the bias, the bias, parang the amount of the input of the bias, the sigmoid function, the activation function, and whatnot. So those are considerations that you really need to understand, no? Kaya sa amin, on our part, we tried to understand all these things, pero ang hirap niyang intindihin. For us, no, na ano pa lang tayo, parang we're just college students, and then we're just trying a lot of we're just really trying to make things work. So what we did is just we had the candidate models. I think parang thousands of them. We just run it and then just get the best model. So the question is, I think it's really you need to research on what what is your goal in your AI and what is what are the architectures that are the different researchers are using in terms of applying the use case into that. So I think that would be the first. There's no parang etong architecture is para dito. There are architectures that are best for one, but you need to search on that one.
All right. So thank you so much, Janelle, for your insight. So as much as we want to answer all of your questions, that's it for our Q&A session. And before we proceed into our announcement, is there anything else you wanted to add, Janelle?
Oh well, I think I'm just hopeful that you learned something from today's session, no? Kasi ano siya, when I tried to do the slides, I was also learning from my own, because I'm not a AI ML practitioner. I am an AI ML enthusiast. So gusto ko yung parang nagiging smart yung mundo, no? So, but yeah, I just like to thank you for the opportunities, King and StackLeague, and then the Pamatasan ng Lungsod ng Manila, no, for having me today. It's really parang it's really parang cool na may nakakausap tayo in terms of sharing knowledge, exchanging ideas, and then um, challenging our assumptions based on the questions, no? Kaya sabi ko, parang wala pa, ang rami ko pang hindi alam because of the questions na sinabi ng iba. So that's a learning process. As mentioned, no? AI learns from experience and so does the human. So human being kita tayo will learn from that. So I think, yeah, yun lang. Thank you, and I hope you learned something from today.
All right. So thank you everyone for your questions, and thank you again, Janelle, for answering all of their queries. and of course, for that very fruitful presentation. And if you need more details, you can connect with Janelle after this session. And can you share with everyone, Janelle, how can they reach you if ever na they wanted to ask questions with regards to our session for today?
Well, yeah, I think you can, ang pangit, pero sige, LinkedIn. You can search me on LinkedIn. Andun naman yung face ko, Jonel Getigan. So, andun yung face ko. So, makikita niyo naman ako. You can reach out actually, and I would be very happy to help you out, no? Because, andun ako dyan ako noon. I was once a student. I have a lot of questions, I'm curious a lot of things about a lot of things. So feel free to reach out to me and ask for anything. LinkedIn,
All
yeah.
right. Okay, so thank you again, Janelle, for joining us for today and giving us your very informative presentation about AI and how it works in the industry. All right. All right, so let's move forward with the announcements from Stack League. So we have upcoming Stack League events. We have with Recruit Day. So Stack League Recruit Day Tech Session, Functional Programming with Java on May 4, Wednesday at 6 p.m. We also have the Stack League AWS Tech Session, Serverless Why Product Owners Choose Them on May 11 at 6 p.m. We also have with UXPH, the Stack League UXPH Tech Session, Web Accessibility done right. So common design gaps and how to fix them on May 25, Wednesday at 6 p.m. There are plenty of opportunities for you to learn in Stack League. You may visit our Facebook page, fb.com/stackleague/events for the registration details and to get latest updates. Okay, so moving forward, we also have the Stack League Ambassador for April is still accepting entries and earn your ambassador points now. You may visit bit.ly/StackLeague Ambassador 2023. Tomorrow is April 30, and that would be the final date for you to send your Stack League Ambassador and gain your Stack League Ambassador points. Also, make sure to earn league points to unlock challenger levels and receive the prizes. So that's it for our announcements. On behalf of Team Stack League, I would like to thank everyone for joining the Stack League University Series, Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila Edition. If you don't have any Stack League, if you don't have a Stack League Edition account, or if you don't have a Stack League account yet, make sure to sign up now at stackleague.com and of course invite your friends, family, colleagues, and even strangers who you think should be a part of the league. See you guys at the next Stack League event. This has been your host, King, and goodbye everyone. Bye-bye!